has truly disrupted our lives. I think I'm not lying when I say that. We now have self-driving cars. We have smart kitchen appliances that tell us when the stew is done and, I don't know, how to cook potatoes. And we have ChatGPT that does our homework for us or writes speeches for us. Who knows? Well, but those are just a couple of aspects how AI has truly disrupted and transformed how we live our lives and our day-to-day. There's, of course, also a dark side to all of this. And I think a lot of people really worry about, well, will I become redundant when AI takes over my job? Maybe next year, who knows? I'm not going to be here. Someone else is going to be moderating, aka Siri. But I think that's truly like one of the main concerns. Are we humans going to be substituted in the labor market when AI becomes more and more powerful? Today, we're really delighted to welcome Dr. Andrej Levin from the Boston Consulting Group to hopefully take us some of that fear and to have a hard conversation around generative AI and the powers, its transformative power that comes from it. Dr. Levin leads the Big Data and Analytics group at the Boston Consulting Group. After working as a professor of law at the University of Siegen, Dr. Levin has switched gears, joined BCG to head the BCGX in Central Europe. And we are truly excited to welcome you today to share some of your analyses and some hard facts on the future with GenAI and the transformative impact that comes from it. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here. Thanks for joining us after lunch. I hope it's worth it because GenAI is such an interesting topic out there. Probably I have the coolest job in BCG because in the last 2 years, it got on the agenda of almost everyone. Like if you look in our clients, I would say like maybe 3 out of 90% of our clients would have AI, GenAI in the top 3, top 5 agenda items. It's really on everybody's mind. I would say it's a bit of a tech party out there. We have such a creative power, disruptive energy out there. When it comes to AI, everybody's thinking of it. Everybody's trying to kind of do something with it, trying to kind of get behind the hype. It's a big party out there. However, there's a bit of a challenge on the horizon because in 2023 and 2024, corporates have invested into cloud, into hyperscalers, into consultants, into infrastructure. Everybody's busy with use cases. So the list is not short of expenses. The list on the returns, rather, is short. We see more and more CFOs asking, look, I see what we are doing here. Where is my money? Where is the return? And we are on the brink of this whole tech fest party here, getting a bit kind of under a challenge because it will be really, really tough to sustain all of that if it doesn't really change corporates, and I mean change in a financial way, because AI doesn't come for free. It needs to kind of deliver returns. So let me today use the next 20 minutes to kind of see a bit beyond what is happening out there, where is real value, and how to really kind of finance the party. Let me fuel a bit the hype before we get and kind of challenge it a bit, because it's really worth fighting for AI and GenAI. Because if you think of what it can do, we kind of kept us busy over the last 2 years to really kind of measure where is the impact. And if you take a regular 40-hour week, which is still more or less the average around societies, and we kind of mapped over 20 industries what AI and GenAI can do, and we mapped 3,000 activities of human activities in corporates, you can already today kind of find 9 of those 40 hours with activities our workforce is busy where AI and GenAI can match the quality of outcomes. So there's a huge potential to kind of think of what we could do with those 9 hours. However, we need to apply a bit of reality check here because those 9 hours will not be easy to capture. Those 9 hours are a suspect to the maturity of technology. Like, is it really already there in the quality we needed to really kind of really free up those 9 hours? What is the cost of really changing all those processes, this corporates, people behavior? Like, there's a long list of arguments why these 9 hours are very theoretical. However, if you deduct all of that, we still see remaining and very clear 4-hour potential of things already technology can do today for us with stuff our workforce is still busy. So what we will talk about today a bit is about a 4-hour potential. And like we're working with a lot of corporates, and trust me, there's so much talent in the market occupied by tasks which really are, let's not stupid tasks, but very manual tasks, not fun tasks to do, which AI, GenAI can do. Like if we would really be, as a society, be able to free up half a workday per week of talent, the power could be tremendous. It's only one half of the argument. The second half is also interesting, because GenAI and AI happen to be the strongest on tasks we like the least. It's glad it's that way. So if you would ask what people are doing, what people enjoy doing in their work life, you would see, like focus work, creative work, collaborative work scores much higher than any form of administrative work, text-heavy work, text research, text processes, text synthesis. Like all those things where GenAI is really strong, we like the least. Why this is, we call it in BCG, not just the 4-hour potential, we call it the 4 ugliest hours. So it's not that we are removing 4 hours of your work week. We can remove, if we would be up for that, we could remove the 4 ugliest hours of the work week. So a job or a work reality without or with GenAI applied is a cooler reality. This 4 hours is obviously a huge average. It's an average because obviously blue-collar work versus white-collar work is very differently impacted by GenAI. Like a marketing role is differently impacted than a supply chain role. Like it's an average, 4 hours. So you could now take this average and kind of look in your company. You would find that some roles are impacted by 1 hour, some roles are impacted by 8 hours a week. You could also put it on a society level. It's very interesting to see the different nations by the industry mix, the skill mix, are differently impacted by this trend. On the x-axis, we asked the 4-hour question, and you see there's already quite a spread. On the y-axis, we would ask, like, freeing up 4 hours has different value to societies depending on the war for talent. So if you're really fighting for every talent you have, and then you have a scarcity of talent, freeing up an hour is much more worth than in a society where you have a high unemployment rate. So also very interesting for us to see, obviously, first of all, how high the US scores in that one, but also many of our European economies are also in the highest benefit area. So it's really, and this is where we're fueling the hype, it's really an amazing carrot to think of. We would free up the ugliest 4 hours of a work week. However, it is still theory, because while the tech is developing in hyperspeed, the adoption of all that in corporates is rather slow. And consultants are amazingly in kind of making up big numbers and inflating that and triangling that, and this is what we did, because you could easily now take those 4 hours, apply to society, and you would see like a trillion number easy to put out there. It's absolute theory, because we are so far away from making this at scale, so let's not take those numbers too serious. And also, even if we free up 4 hours, nobody yet knows what will happen with those. Are we really investing those in innovation and kind of everybody will just cooler stuff? Are we doing this and we just do more of what we do today? Or is it all becoming social benefit and we have 36-hour weeks, not 44 weeks? Like, it's totally unclear what will happen to those 4 hours as well. So let's not get too much obsessed with this artificial carrot. And that now bring me down to what we actually want to talk about is it's not a problem about understanding the carrot. Now we are, after 2 years, 3 years into the trend, we are now a bit obliged to make something meaningful out of that, because this innovation, we call it creative chaos out there, had hit its year. In 2025, the bar is a bit higher. Let me go with you through a bit of dramatic maturity curve. Why dramatic? Because 2 years, 3 years ago, people were saying, when we had all our ChatGPT moment, like, this is a technology so easy, so clearly understood what it can do. It's like printing money. Everybody will adopt it tomorrow. It's amazing. And consultants, by the way, fueled it as well. It wasn't that easy. We all understood that it is very different to having some technology at your fingertips on small scale for small tasks. To bring it really up to scale, it's a very different game. You have certainly risk components, you have compliance components, you have infrastructure efforts you need to overcome, exploding token costs, cloud costs. Like, to bring it really at scale, it isn't that easy. And however, you kind of think of that and you think through how to scale it, you set your organizations up to scaling, it's still theory. A lot of the companies then realized, when I take this technology and I throw it at my company, the adoption curve is extremely underwhelming. It's always kind of tough to understand because many people talk about GenAI, they come from a tech community setup, but the reality out there is we have a lot of skeptics. We have people who kind of fear of jobs being replaced. We have people who are resistant to change. We have people who can't translate how ChatGPT in my marketing role or my HR role should change my actual work together. So this translation effort from the technology to actual doing is something which heavily was underestimated and also underinvested. But then if you even overcome the adoption problem, the second thing we see is most companies take new technology and throw it at all processes. The thing you can achieve with that is rather limited. You can a bit improve, but you're not disrupting the world by just kind of using new technology in all processes. The big unlock of value happened in the last 2 years whenever we use this technology to totally rethink the process. So I would say an absolute vast majority of corporates are in a bit provocative stage we call the showman. You can keep the organization busy with use cases and pilots and everybody is doing something, but if you really ask, did this really change the P&L of the company? It's rather few impact stories, anecdotes you would get, you would not change a dramatic shift. So we call it the new seriousness. Gears are changing, CFOs becoming more aggressive. We need to monetize. And the new seriousness means we are not celebrating tech only. We're not only celebrating the change part of what needs to happen to organizations, the beyond tech part, it's also very much about really monetizing here. I'll give you an example. There's one of our clients who had done an amazing transformation of GenAI when it comes to supplier interaction. How he engages with supplier, how he chooses supplier, how he contracts supplier, how he negotiates supplier, totally rethought this with GenAI. They created an A/B test and they've proven themselves that they're now operating the process 50% faster. Everybody was celebrating there on the board, we and BCG, like it was amazing how great the process was changed. 3 months into the game, also reality is, we asked the company, what did you do with your 10 hours you freed up? And everybody was just busy again. Everybody found new tasks, everybody was busy again with doing something, and the P&L hasn't changed. Because the company has failed to really monetize, to say, look, we now have ore, we expect this team to produce twice the output in the same time, or we reduce the team by half, or we restructure the team and use these resources somewhere else. But the path to money, to EBIT in the P&L, was not taken serious. We have celebrated way too early on operational KPI. This is why we call it the showman and not the moneymaker. And this is reality. And it's not bad to be there, because this is a new trend. This is nothing we are doing now for 3, 5 years, 10 years. There's no textbook. Whatever who calls themselves being best practice, nobody has done an AI, GenAI transformation at scale. So we're all learning, so it's okay to go there, but we expect companies to at least have a path to be a moneymaker at one point. Maybe double click on the showman for a second, because there are 2 archetypes here. Just been recently with a board of a DAX player. You go in the board session and you say the word AI, and there's almost a physical reaction of everyone turning to the CIO. Yeah? It's like AI is outsourced to the CIO, to the IT department. This is your topic. If this is the case, you will never reach the moneymaker step, because this is an archetype of organizations where the tech community is taking this trend, pushing platforms, pushing assets, pushing applications. The business in their strategy, in their minds, by no means are ready. But there's also the second archetype of visionary leaders who say, look, maybe they have listened to consultants too long and they're like 70% reduction potential. We can really disrupt our world with GenAI. But then they realize the infrastructure is not there. The data infrastructure is not there. The people to build GenAI is not there. So it's another version of an archetype of being a showman. The only path this comes together is when you have business strategy and the tech strategy really collaborating for a purpose to kind of create value in the company. And this is something which is out of balance in, I would say, absolutely the vast majority of corporates out there. This is a picture we use a lot in BCG to discuss how companies react to what we say. Usually, after we kind of explain the carrot, the 4 ugliest hours, people get it, they sit down, they bring their teams together, they open the oyster, so they found the trend, they understood what AI can do, and then they create a long list of use cases. So absolutely typical behavior. We find 150, I found a client with 561 use cases. You can list them all, then you work after your priorities. Reality is, these pearls, every use case and such makes sense, do not automatically come through a string of pearls. There's a client we have, they managed to create 7 different versions on the chatbot. In news, in sales, in after sales, in HR, in legal, 6 out of the 7 on different tech stacks. Imagine what happened when they wanted to scale. It didn't work. GenAI, we're talking about pre-trained foundational model. It's a generic technology by its nature that companies kind of reinvent the technology over and over in its own kind of factory gates again. It's just a huge waste. It's a huge waste which kind of, in the moment you want to scale it, doesn't play out. So the big problem we see at the moment is it's so inaccessible technology. There's such a creative power out there. Everybody is doing it. And you don't want to kind of slow down this creative power. But also we see that organically, it do not automatically sort itself. It don't automatically come together to a string of pearls and strategy. So there's a responsibility of CEOs, CFOs, and the whole board to kind of orchestrate that and bring it into one direction. And this is missing a lot. In BCG, we love metrics. And this is another one we did to a bit simplify the word, but it really makes the point. On the x-axis, we're asking the question if, are you a corporate which is still cherry-picking your use cases, or are you sticking it together to a program, to a string of pearls? You kind of do also those foundation investments in platform, in responsible AI, in building up capabilities. So you go beyond use cases, you go for the string of pearls. So this is left versus right. On the y-axis, we ask ourselves, are you going for the measurable hard stuff? So you go after cost, you fight with the worker council, you lay off a supplier, or you kind of restructure your organization, or are you going more for the soft part, diffuse productivity, like a bit of a customer engagement score, like the soft part? The comfort zone is the top left corner. So you cherry pick some use cases, you do something which not stepping in anyone's feet, you keep the press, the financial community busy, and you can survive there another year before people realize it didn't brought any P&L change. Bottom right, this is war zone. This is where you step on people's feet, where you need to shut off a lot of use cases because they are more blurry than they kind of really develop impact. This is where you really need to invest and take a bit of an entrepreneurial stance to change. So bottom right is tough one. Obviously, there's also a top right one, and you would see like energy players, for example, there. These are companies which are a bit less pressured by cost. They are more pressured by productivity. Like energy players, especially those in Germany, who need to kind of succeed in the energy transition. They need there's a huge demand for more than 12,000 employees they need to hire over the next 2 years, which do not exist in the market. So for them, they're using those 4 ugly hours certainly to free up more productivity, to free up more tasks and productivity of their workforce to kind of cope with this energy transition. But those two trends are absolutely clear. They shift away from cherry-picking use cases, and actually, as we need to kind of prove the money point, also a clear focus on cost. Efficiency driven by AI is becoming more in program in more and more DAX players. If we now compare those companies who are a bit on the path of value creation versus those who are still in a creative chaos, again, we don't know, there's no 10 years history, but the path probably kind of best described on those 5 dimensions where we see companies kind of really getting to moneymaker step. So the first one is asking your companies and your clients and the corporates, is it we are doing it because AI is cool and we're driving innovation, or what is the purpose of this transformation? And the absolute big number of our clients still kind of celebrate tech. They celebrate the innovation of large language models, and they kind of force their organizations to drive innovation. Just few clients moved from celebrating tech to celebrating value. So the 4 ugliest hours as a vision, and 100 million cost out potential to get competitive again, whatever it is, but those organizations who kind of quantify and more tangibly describe what they want to do in terms of outcomes with the technology, they run significantly faster. They unify their teams behind something which is much more tangible than just innovation as such. So first question is, are you focused after a potential vision? The second one is this balance of decentral and central around platform. From the chatbot example I mentioned, easily you could kind of create a 60 version of a white label chatbot with no specific purpose on a use case, and then you kind of build it centrally and you kind of create it as an asset you provide to your company. And then many use case owners could use it. On the people side, are you investing into really transforming your organization in terms of really training them, driving adoption? Are you have outsourced everything to external partners, to tech players and consultants, or are you really building internal capabilities to grow this as a core foundation of your company? Policy, are you really investing into responsible AI, both being compliant, but also really investing into quality? There's such an naive use of the technology. So many clients do not really invest into building quality assets on top of the generic models they buy from external. And then the whole operating model. Who owns AI? Is it really the CIO? Is it a more kind of strategic question to the CEO or to the CFO? Basically, also, it all underlines with the question, is AI still optional? So is it just nice to have it? Or is it really a prerequisite and a mandatory thing? Like the first CEOs said that in 2025, I only expect leaders in my team who kind of embrace AI in their function. You can't be 2025 a modern leader without having whatever you do, supply chain, HR, legal, sales, whatever you do, AI need to be a function. They're moving away from making it optional, like the best do it, some don't, to make it mandatory for everyone. Let me close and really would love to take some questions, but also very clearly, we have not a tech problem. 80% of the potential out there we could have solved with the 3.5 model with technology which is 2 years old. Let's not get busy about the question, what is the next large language model? We have severe homework to do on adopting it, on changing organizations. So at this stage, AI is a people transformation, changing organization, changing processes. It's not a tech transformation, and only those who have understood that are on the path to be a moneymaker and on the path to really freeing up those 4 ugliest hours. Thanks so much. I hope you find your 4 ugliest hours well. I would love to take some questions because it's such a controversial topic. Any questions?
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Jakob. I'm a public policy student at Duke University and the Hertie School Berlin. I'm wondering about the impact on education, since we're at a university, of AI, and I feel like there's like 2 main thoughts. Either it's a tool we have to work with and you embrace it, or if we always use AI, people will lack skills they need and they need in the future life. So I'm wondering, how do you feel about this in this dichotomy of using it in education?
Yeah. I think there's no scenario that AI will go away. So it's here to stay, it's here to scale. Like, I would urge everyone to embrace it in how you educate people, how you train people, set them up for skill sets required to live in a world with AI. So I think all the attempts to kind of block AI out of education to protect the status quo is failing. So I think everybody's urged to really rethink how we kind of educate people, what are the skills we need in the future. Almost every subject has certain implications to that. So I just can only underline, rethink almost every curriculum in the market to kind of adopt to what we're doing there, both in the way we kind of train students, how we also write exams or kind of homeworks or thesis. All of that needs to be restored, because just doing it as it was like 10, 15 years ago will not kind of stand strong against what's happening in the market and where other societies reinventing education as well. So there's a huge homework to do here, and we are a bit behind, because technology is already there, just the education plans are not.
Hi, I'm Lucas. I'm studying finance at Wharton. I had a question just about the way we think of AI driving value growth. Right? Usually I think about improving margins, top line revenue growth, multiple expansion, whatnot. Do you think about saving time for individual employees as the best proxy for that value generation? Is that just one side of the coin? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, that's a good one. Obviously, if you free up 4 hours of your workforce, they will drive top line. If you set them up for success, they will kind of reduce costs if you restructure. So with an empowered organization, you can do a lot. But obviously, you're right. Like if I think of the full potential plan of most of our clients when they think of AI, I would say 50% is more around margin and top line. There are cases where you kind of reinvent the customer experience, where you kind of use AI, GenAI to implement in your product to create competitive advantage and differentiation. I would say there's good 20% of homework to do in your supplier landscape. So bringing down cost on external cost. Because many of our clients kind of do not accept when they kind of hire marketing agencies or they kind of work with anyone, they don't accept that everybody kind of stays on the same cost level. So everybody's squeezing down suppliers at the moment to bring down costs because they expect, as they do, to adopt GenAI. And then the productivity is probably a third bucket of that. There's a lot of inventory and cash elements to that as well. But if you think of the total full potential plan, I would say at least half of that is on top line. However, the top line cases are a bit more difficult to prove. They usually have a bit longer lead time into the market because developing a new product takes time to bring it to market, to scale it. There is a certain impatience at the moment in the market. Why at the moment I would say you are better off on proving real cost savings, which is money in 2025, to at least pay the bills of what you're doing right now to ensure you get the investments to invest in 2025, 2026, and 7. Because this lack of patience, there's a lot of the first people saying it's a hype which is about to burst. And if you don't bring money home in 2025, there will be no kind of big investments available for actually fueling the growth possible. So at the moment, I would say, even so the full potential plan as is described, there's an over-indexed and hard cost delivery in 2025.